Well, hello and welcome. We are coming to you live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, you're watching The Week Ahead. Do interact with us on our social media platforms at The Week Ahead or using the hashtag The Week Ahead. On that note, let's get straight into it. Well, we start off by taking a look, honing in Tanzania. Tanzania's Broadcasting Corporation reports that a precision airplane has crashed into Africa's largest lake. Now, the place crashed into Lake Victoria in Tanzania while attempting to land at an airport in Bukoba this morning. TBC says 15 people have been rescued so far, but it is unknown how many passengers were on board or whether there were any fatalities. The plane departed from the capital, Dar es Salaam, and fell in the Lake Victoria due to storm and heavy rains. TBC adds that rescue boats have been deployed and emergency workers are continuing to rescue other passengers trapped in the plane. The plane belongs to Precision Air, which is Tanzania's largest privately owned airline. Right, in other news now, world leaders will sit down to discuss action to tackle climate change at the UN Climate Summit tomorrow after a year of climate-related disasters. The 27th Conference of the Parties, or COP27 meeting, is taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh. This is in Egypt over the next 12 days.
Leading the South African government delegation to the COP meetings in Egypt. Speaking at a special virtual meeting with the Presidential Climate Commission, he said South Africa's key emphasis at the meeting will be that any transition from old energies to new and greener ones must be a just one. He noted that the $8.5 billion Just Energy Transition Investment Plan, funded by the United States and several European countries, had been approved by Cabinet. The plan is to be released soon for public consultation.
As we navigate our way through this transition, we create jobs, in new sectors that are going to have to accompany our transition as we move forward. But also, this must be based on our key objective of ensuring that there is inclusive economic growth in our country.
The Presidential Climate Commission's executive director says the world is not on track in reaching the goal of global temperatures rising by 1.5 degrees from pre-industrial levels. On the current trajectory, he says they're set to breach 2 degrees and more. There's a warning that the world cannot afford to ponder on the issue of how to deal with climate change.
We've already warmed 1.1 degree, and you can see the way that the climate is physically changing. You know, we're having much more severe weather events. I mean, the floods in KZN were a classic example of the kind of flood disasters and extreme weather events that we're going to be facing. We're going to have heat and drought. I mean, you're already seeing a prolonged drought in the Southern Cape and in Nelson Mandela Bay. I mean, Quebec has been, facing a day zero crisis this year. And these kinds of events are going to increase in frequency.
Climate change activists say African countries must push for the concept of loss and damage at the conference. This speaks to the infrastructural and broader socio-economic damage brought on by climate change events, which they say richer nations who are responsible for the same should pay for. Nompumelelo Siziba, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Right, for this and more, our SABC News international editor, Sophie Mugwena, joins us. A very good afternoon to you, Sophie. Thank you for joining us. Let's just quickly hone in on COP27. Perhaps South Africa, seen as a breakthrough back in 2021, when South Africa received 8.5 billion rand, $1 billion rather. And I wonder, in retrospect, is 8.5 billion enough for South Africa? Does it form part of the 100 billion pledge deal that hasn't been reached? How would you weigh in on that?
Well, it doesn't form part of the 100 billion that was pledged in 2015 in Paris during the Paris Agreement. This was a contribution, an initiative by the G7 member countries particularly. And this money was made available for South Africa, but there are supposed to be agreements in terms of how you access this money. Some of the finances or the funds are for loans and others are grants. And earlier on, the president pointed out that they are still discussing with these countries that have agreed to give South Africa this money or borrow South Africa this money in terms of how you use it, but also to ensure that we don't end up with a debt that we can't even pay. We know that South Africa is already struggling to pay its debt, and therefore you cannot continue borrowing when you don't have money. But let's take a listen at what the president had to say when he was speaking to his counterpart from Spain around the issue of financing of climate change in terms of mitigation and also moving to renewable energy.
There is an offer that has been put on the table, and as we raise the issue of the financing, we are also raising the adequacy of that financing and also the composition of that financing. And so we are going to be having discussions with our partners in this regard in a very positive manner to see how best we can navigate our way through the just transition so that we don't leave anyone behind.
You know, Sophie, on the back of that, it seems that divided we fall, united we stand. Perhaps as Africa comes with a more united approach, I wonder, what does Africa stand to benefit from COP27 at large this time round?
Well, Africa is united. You know that since COP26 in Glasgow, they took a position that looks at how you phase in this new renewable energy, and in terms of ensuring that you don't have a situation where people are going to lose, you know, the jobs that we have on the continent, looking at what transpired during COVID-19, and therefore we call it a just energy transition. And Africa is speaking in one voice, and the leaders are united, and they feel that they have to speak in terms of one position, because if you come up with different positions, you are going to find a situation where you are weakened as a country, because you are going to negotiate with powerful nations. And let's take a listen at what the president of Kenya had to say when he also met the president of Spain when they were talking about the coming COP27 climate change summit in Sharm el-Sheikh.
You can count on my support and that of my government in ensuring that we take a common position when we go to Sharm el-Sheikh, so that we can, in a robust manner, in an honest conversation, be able to have a discussion on the effects of climate change, especially those of drought, those of famine, the loss of wildlife, the loss of livestock, and the threat to human life that is being caused by the ravages of climate change, and have a candid discussion on the matter of loss and damage, and how we can work with multilateral organizations to provide financing for resilience, climate change financing, for mitigation, for adaptation, and for the after effects.
All right, let's put all this into context globally. We obviously have to explore the issue of a just energy transition. Antonio Guterres, advocating for a new social compact as countries, revert back to coal, given the precarious economic crisis the world is facing on the back of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's the Ukraine-Russia war. How would you weigh in on what he's advocating on that front?
Well, we were very fortunate. The UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, agreed to speak to SABC earlier on, and he spoke to our colleague at the UN in New York, Sharon Bryce-Peace, about what he calls a critical moment for the globe or the world, and calling on world leaders to do everything in their power to ensure that they come up with an agreement again that is more clearer, but also well-funded and with time frames and targets. And I think for him, he is worried that the war in Ukraine has kind of affected the implementation processes, timeframes, and targets in terms of the agreement at Glasgow. You know that it was even difficult at Glasgow because of COVID-19, and now the war in Ukraine. And therefore, he made a very strong motivation for a proper, robust discussions, as President William Ruto pointed out. And let's take a listen at what the SG had to say to our colleague, Sharon Bryce-Peace. And this full interview will be on Full View at 6 o'clock tonight.
The emerging economy will say, just a moment, you have polluted for many decades. Now we need some room of maneuver in order to be able to develop our countries, and we have technological problems to solve. Now, this blame game would lead nowhere. So what we need now, we had, as you know, several coalitions. It was a suggestion I made in Glasgow, and several countries made agreements between G7 countries, international financial institutions, and the emerging economies themselves. It was true for Indonesia, Vietnam, South Africa, in order to be able to speed the transition. But that is not enough. We need to have an historical pact between developed countries and the emerging economies to be able to put together all the resources, financial and technological, to allow for a global reduction of emissions.
Just very quickly then, would nuclear be back on the cards?
Well, many countries are saying that you can't rule out nuclear capabilities. We saw some African countries have started talking to countries such as Russia, China, to assist them to build nuclear capabilities. We know that some countries do have nuclear capabilities for health purposes, and now they are saying we can use that also for energy transition. But it is a very thorny issue. You know that there are activists who are against this, and therefore I think the issue of nuclear will be back on the agenda and people will be talking about it. We know that the developed countries, the ones that are affected by the war in Ukraine, those who are dependent on Russia for energy supply and gas, are already doing that. They've extended the lifespan of their nuclear power stations and also the coal power stations, but above all, buying coal from the continent. And I think that is the problem. How do you say people must move to renewable energy at a particular speed when you are regressing? And therefore, I think this is going to be a very, very thorny issue, and perhaps a sticking point for developing countries, saying, you developed countries, you are well developed, and you became these industrialized countries by using fossil fuel and coal and all of that. And you are saying we must abandon this when we haven't really arrived at a point where you are in terms of development. So the issue of finance is going to be a critical one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So as all eyes obviously on COP27 taking place from the 6th of November, I just want to quickly hone back on the continent and take a look at what transpired in Lesotho. On the back of the inauguration, how would you weigh in on the trimming of cabinet down from 36 to 15 ministers? Is the cabinet fit for, the intended purposes, particularly the issues, the low-hanging fruits at this point that the country faces?
I think it's more centralized. If you have fewer ministers and you give them more responsibilities, but those responsibilities, when you look at the clusters, are talking to each other, it is easy to achieve development. I mean, developed countries, they don't have many ministers and deputy ministers like we do in the case of South Africa. I mean, Lesotho, with a population of over 2 million, you can't have 35 ministers. And I think it is a question of ensuring that as you appoint these ministers, the responsibilities that you give them must speak to each other. For example, if someone is responsible for economic development, business, and also environment and energy. Sometimes it can work because when you look at the South African economic cluster, you have all these ministers talking to this one issue of developing the economy, either with different sectors, business or big business, and therefore, and also the issue of tourism. And I think it is possible. You just need a decisive leader at the helm, a leader who is able to understand where he wants to take his country to, a leader who sets time frames and targets, and the evaluation and monitoring. It's not just evaluation and monitoring by word of mouth. You do it practically, you go and check, and you are decisive. But above all, you get the best technocrats. Those are the people who are responsible for implementation. If you don't appoint proper, qualified, experienced technocrats, people with experience is quite critical. And you will never deliver as a country. And therefore, I think if he can do just that, and he pointed out when I spoke to him that he comes from a background of business, and therefore he would want to drive things in a way they do in the business world, in terms of you must have targets and timeframes. You must demand accountability. You must appoint people who are competent, and you must lead by example.
All right. Always a pleasure having you. Thank you very much for giving us an update on what we can expect for the week ahead. SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena weighing in on news that's set to make headlines this coming week. All right, other news making headlines now. EFF Eastern Cape wraps up its third People's Assembly. Party leader Julius Malema speaking. Let's take you live there.
Position of power. And when I lose, I will be the first one to congratulate those who have won. And when I go back to my branch, I will tell my branch we must all run behind the elected leadership. Because when you join the EFF, you said you subscribe to democratic centralism. Democratic centralism means that the decisions of a higher structure are binding on lower structures and all members of the organization in that particular province. What is the decision of higher structure in this context? It is this provincial People's Assembly. There is no higher structure other than this one. When leadership is elected here, when decisions are taken here, they are binding on all of us. It doesn't matter, let me tell you, it doesn't matter who you supported, it doesn't matter who didn't support. The organization has taken a decision, and we are not happy about that decision, but we will respect it as a decision of the organization. Let me tell you, the majority can also be wrong. The majority can elect Vena, and maybe they are wrong. But you respect the wrong decision of the majority. You don't go around denouncing the chairperson of our province, because you don't only undermine these delegates who are gathered here, you are also undermining us, in particular the deputy president who came to preside over this conference. And let me tell you, you are supporting Yazini. You don't stop supporting Yazini. That's your belief. They were wrong and all of that, but I believe in Yazini. But you don't go and destabilize our organization in the name of Yazini. And Razini doesn't go and allow you to destabilize our organization in this way. If Razini is a true leader and a disciplined leader and a loyal leader, he will say, do not destabilize the EFF in my name. Because that's what leaders must do. Do not destabilize our organization in my name. I am a member of the EFF and I will always respect the decisions of the EFF. So fighters, if you are here and you are contesting each other, and when you look at each other, you see the enemy in front of you, you are in a wrong organization. Because there is no enemy in this war. If you are Marxist, you will know that Marx and Lenin teaches us that the enemy is described through each class positioning. You are either the owner of the means of production or you are not. In this hall, there is no one who owns the means of production. In this hall, there is no one who is white monopoly capital. In this one, there is no one who subscribes to white supremacy. Therefore, there is no enemy in this hall. We are all members of the EFF. If you subscribe to Fanon, you will know that in this hall, they are only black people, and therefore, blacks can never be enemies to each other. They are one thing, and they must protect each other against white dominance. So why do you see an enemy? Why do you feel disappointed? Why do you feel demoralized when you have lost? You shouldn't, because a black man has ascended to power. I still see myself in that black man. I still see myself in that white man. They are no enemies. They are political competitors. The competition is over. Now back to work. Anyone who still speaks about this group and that group, you are not EFF. You have been sent to come and divide us here. We contested each other because we thought this one can do better than this one. It doesn't mean hatred, it means judgment. This is how I see it. Don't hate me for how I think. I am not you, you are not me. Me, I like to think the way I want to think. Because you have won. You have not won anything. This weekend there is only one winner. It's Orlando Pirates. No one has won anything here. No one. There is no trophy. If you have won, where is the trophy? There are no winners here. There are no losers here. The EFF came out of each conference united as one because we joined the EFF. We did not join the individual. Nelson Mandela, who was born in Eastern Cape, is no more. Owen Tambo is no more. Chris Hani is no more. Winnie Mandela is no more. It is you who are going to produce those people. You can't produce them if you are divided. A divided house, DP will never produce a king. But contestation is not division. It is what it is. It is a contestation. So those who want to confuse democracy, for division, they will have themselves to blame. In the EFF, all positions are contested, including that one of the president to the last position. And once they are presided over by IMSA, an independent body that has got nothing to do with us. Some of us speak after you have elected because we can't hold the truth back. That's why I come after elections. Because if I speak before elections, some of these people who elected, you are not going to elect. I would have called them by name and told you their sins. Because your former provincial secretary was removed as a provincial secretary to preside over elections and sent to go and preside over elections of a local municipality from a province to presiding over a municipality. He did not come back with a single PR seat. Yet you promoted him to deputy chairperson. And you come here and say to me, we want to replace the ANC, and you do worse than the ANC, that when people drop their vote, you promote them to higher positions. Let me leave with DP because I don't want to get into problem. I'm giving you an example of why I don't speak before you elect, so that you don't blame me that no, he's the one who influenced us. But there are certain things I will never keep quiet. There are certain things that are just not welcome in the EFF. That's what you did to us here. The whole secretary of a province gets sent to a smallest local municipality, brings no single seat of a PR, gets promoted to a deputy chair. What type of leaders do we want to replace the ANC? Today, those leaders who left us then, who have lost, they gave us 155,899 votes. It's not enough. We don't want that in the Eastern Cape. The people of Eastern Cape want more. They are looking forward to the leadership of the EFF. I hope this 155,000 plus is not going to come back with a less vote, because if you do that, you will know who we are. Your judgment is on retaining this number or increasing it, doubling it, and taking over the Eastern Cape. Here in Eastern Cape, if you are not number one, we are number two. And if you are number two, it means there is no winner. All of them are under 50%. They must come to EFF to beg to go with the EFF in government. We don't want lazy leadership. So the new secretary, I'm watching you closely, because that position of a secretary is not a position of mampe papa. It's not the one that will behave like asking for papa. That position is an engine. Without that position, this Rolls Royce cannot move. It doesn't matter how beautiful the car is. If you go and take out the engine from the Rolls Royce, a beautiful Rolls Royce is no longer a car, it's a scrap. So I hope you did not give us a scrap. You gave us a working world machine that will take the EFF into the next level. Comrades, the people of Mthatha, the people of Tebeja, the people of Kunu, all of them are saying they want clean water.
Radio 5 in the Eastern Cape wrapping up its third People's Assembly. Just some remarks from party leader Julius Malema. But in other news, we move on to, we see former ANC President Jacob Zuma is now delivering the O.R. Tambo Memorial Lecture organized by the eThekwini Region Ward 111 at Umlazi. On that note, let's take you live there.
Makuhlangana abantu belokhu bemaqoqwana bexoxa kuthiwa yini
It's a caucus.
hayi caucus hayi bajabula ama-caucus ama-comrade kulungile ngezizukwane sesikhuluma ngaye siyosho ukuthi babesuke benzani abantu engifuna nje ukusho ukuthi kwakuyenye insizwa leya yayithenjwa abantu abaphethe amazwe ibemthemba ngaphezulu kokuba bona bezethemba ngoba kwakuyindoda ehlakaniphile kwakuyindoda honest kwakuyindoda ehamba ngolayini eyayingajikajiki siyolithola ke ithuba sixoxe ngoTambo kabanzi njengoba ngishilo nokuthi waqala nini ukuba upresident. Waqala deputy president uTambo deputizer umholi ka-ANC kwakuthiwa uChief Albert Luthuli. Ngo-1959 wehla wezala eNatal ezovula i-conference i-provincial conference ye-ANC. Wathi mayiqeda ukukhuluma wasukuma uMadlanduna wathi noma sesingafa manje thina sibadala bakhona abaholi nangu umholi nimzwile waye ekhulume ehlaziya isimo sase South Africa nezwe lonke ngendlela eyayisimanga waye tolikelwa enye inkokheli enamandla ngendlela eyisimanga uMoses Mabhida emhumushela ngesiZulu yena ufunda inkulumo yakhe ngesilungu kulapho wamphasisa khona uLuthuli ukuthi umholi ngempela ke lo. Kwathatha isinqumo ke ngo-1959 enkonfeni ye-ANC ukuthi because abacindezeli la basiphethe kabi kodwa basupportwa amazwe asentshonalanga wathi uLuthuli kufanele ukuthi singakhulumi la ekhaya nje kuphela ngenkululeko asiyobatshena nangaphesha ukuthi abangayisupport iSouth Africa ngoba iphethe ubandlululo. Kwathiwa lo msebenzi mkhulu uma uya ngaphandle uyosebenza ngaphandle ukwazi ukuthumela nje nombani. I-National Executive Committee yathatha isinqumo sokuthi uPresident uLuthuli akahole ukhongolo sela ngaphakathi ngaphandle kuphume iphini lakhe ideputy yakhe uTambo ayohola ukuconvince izwe ukuthi lingasupport iSouth Africa. Sinqumo sathathwa ngo-1959 ngo-1960 waphuma uTambo walishiya kulele thunywa i-ANC ukuthi ayoyimela ngaphesheya. Kuningi kakwenzile so ixoxa ke lezi ndaba ngokugcwele uma sengibuya bengithi nje angithi uyabona ke sengiza lapha ke lapho ngithi ngithukuthele khona thukuthele ngiyafa ubaba umahumapila ngakutshena bake bafika kimbe abaholi emasontweni amaningi adlule ngabatshena ngathi hey ngiyalwa manje angidlali ngathi kubona rafu kini nama comrade and ngaba rafu ngempela. Manje ke khona abantu abahluphayo ngesinye isikhathi othi uma ukhuluma bakutolike ngenye indlela. Ngithena ke no angaze ngiye mina esikoleni bakwethu. Ngiyiqhenye nje ngokuthi akekho uthisha ongathi ngake ngabona lesiphongwana phambi kwami. Kodwa ngithe ukwenzela laba khona laba bahlupha kakhulu. Yabona sebephethe amapeni bathi ufuna ukubhala. Funa bangizwe kahle. Ase ngizoke ngishayisa ngisa senkandla. Ngase ngithi ke ngokosiko lwethu kuye kufuneka uma sikhuluma ngesiLungu kube khona ukukhuluma ngesiZulu ukuze kungabikho kusalayo, ikakhulukazi ngoba lezi zinto engizozisho la ezinye zazo zizofuna ukuthi sibhale edolweni. Uma uMapila besho nje ukuthi siya enkomfeni, kwenzekani manje njengoba siya enkomfeni? Sizimisela ukuyokwenzani thina ke? Sengathi abantu abaningi bayavumelana ukuthi ANC yehlile ekusekeleni abantu base South Africa. Kubangelwa yini lokho? Sizokwenza njani thina ekuyisukumiseni ANC phinde ibe intandokazi ebantwini base South Africa na? Sizoqhubeka yini nathi sishonise phansi? Okubuhlungu kakhulu ukuthi njengoba siyenkomfeni nje sisantela amasonto ambalwa, angiyizwa inkulumo ethi thina abantu baka ANC nakhe sithi sizokwenza ukuze ANC ibuye ikhuphuke ihlonishwe. Kwenziwe yini? Sithini? Sibathumela sithini ama delegate ethu na? Ngoba kuyokuthi sesihlangene kanje bese kuthiwe hayi kule branch kuzophuma idelegate eyodwa noma amabili. Ebese kusho ukuthi imfiso zethu nemicabango yethu njengoba sibangaka nje sezophathwa umuntu oyedwa noma ababili. Labo bantu baphethe ezethu na noma baphethe imfuno zabanye abantu? Lo osukela kuthina uzosho lento esiyifunayo na noma uzoshinta azoyitshenwa abanye abantu? Uma ke sihlangene sithi siyamkhetha nange sifuna usimela, unayo ini discipline yokumela lo mbono wethu la? Noma ngabe kwenzekana enkomfeni, noma uzofika thathwa umoya enkomfeni alalela abantu abakhuluma ingisi ezinkulu lapha, mhlawumbe angazizwa njengami nje ezinye izinto, avume nje. Sithini thina njengabanikazi be-ANC? Ngiye ngathi ke ngifisa ukukhuluma ngalolu daba ngoba siya enkomfeni. Baba uzotolika, angifuni ubhayize, ufuna ufunde la, ufuna utolike lokho engizokusho ngoba utoliki ngesinye isikhathi baye bahambe ngaphezulu kwenkulumo asho lokho akukhulu akuzwile nje, uyayibona ndaba. Ingixolele impela ngifuna ukukwetiza ngoba ngifuna kuzwe ngisho osehlathini. Uyabona ke baba, ngizofunda iparagraph ngiqede ubuso uyishaya ngesizulu wena. Angithi?
Yeah.
Nganqamula iphakathi ukuze ungezwa kahle. Nami ngingezwa kahle. Eh?
Yeah.
Lutho. Angazi lutho uzozwa nje mase ngifunda ukuthi hololo. Naso ke isingisi sasenkandla. Nani izozwa ngithi nizozwa nani? My babo. Ngithe ngenza lokhu ngoba ngifuna thina abantu baka ANC sivusane sikhulume singazigqibi izinto. Kunezinto ezenzeka manje kunemithetho eminingi abeshawo ANC engazi ukuthi ishawa kuyiphi conference. Uzokuthiwa sekuno rule ban no rule ban. Kodwa kwenzelwa thina obani abasenekezwe amandla angaka usenzela ama rules nazo zonke izinto ngaphandle kwethu. Ngizofisa ke nje ukuthi ningixolele impela namhlanje. Ke ngikwitize nje nami. Comrade Chair, the month of December 2022 is yet another critical milestone for the country and the ANC as the organization will be indeed holding its conference in December.
Ngenyanga kaZibandlela ku-2022 esinye isikhathi lesi esibalekile selizwe ne-ANC ku-55 National Conference wenhlangano ukuze ithathe indawo.
As the conference surges closer, several matters are still up with regards to the type of ANC that must emerge and the issues that require urgent attention to ensure the revival of our beloved movement.
Njengoba inkonfa isondela, ziningi izinto eziphezulu okumele ukuthi zidingidwe eziphathelene nohlobo lukaKhongolose okumele ukuthi luphumele phambili lapha enkonfeni. Nezinto ezidinga ukuthi zinikezwe ukubhekisiswa ukuze kwenze isiqiniseko sokuthi ayabuya amandla enhlangano yethu esiyithandayo.
With regards to the administrative aspects and preparations, we find ourselves in the same position that we were in during the 54th National Conference in 2017. This is unfortunate situation for our movement. In 2017, the Secretary General's office was still trying to conclude the audit processes and was still dealing with inquiries on the eve of the conference. It was the first time that we were not able to finish our conference's preparations on time.
Uma sibuka indlela ekholwa ngayo nangendlela amalungiselelo enzeka ngayo kule nkonfa ezayo ngoDisemba, sizifumana sisesimeni lapho ngesikhathi sika 54th National Conference ngo 2017 okuyisikhathi esingesihle nokho. Ngo 2017 unobhala jikelele noma iofisi lika nobhala jikelele lalisazama ukuthi liphethe iaudit noma ukwenziwa kweauditing this is not an easy task, but I am trying my best. Kwase ngicela ningilinde kancane. Ngo 2017 iofisi lika nobhala lalisazama ukuthi liqede noma liconclude iaudit noma iprocess yeaudit. And futhi kusenjalo babesa busy bezama ukulungisa noma ukubuza mayelana nokuza kwenkomfa. Kungokuqala lapho singakwazanga khona ukuthi siqede amalungiselelo ngesikhathi.
This time round, the sitting of, we call it BGMs, we call it here branch general meetings. Abanye bethu bazobacabanga ukuthi le BGM ishenyento because sibhala ngamagama amafishane. It is the branch general meeting. Regions and sub-regions has been fraught with technical problems which caused delays. The weaknesses at the SGO, as well as the failure to pay staff salaries by the Treasurer General's office, have clearly had a negative impact on the organization.
Ngalesi sikhathi ukuhlala kwama branch general meeting nama regions kanjalo nama sub regions ahlangabezane nezinkinga zezobuchwepheshe ezenza ukuthi kube khona ukubambezeleka. Kanjalo ukwehla kwamandla ama SGO kanjalo nokufeyila noma nokungaphumeleli kokukhokhelwa kwemali yabasebenzi treasurer noma umphathi wezimali noma iofisi lomphathi wezimali libe nomthelela omubi kwiorganization.
Besides the administrative hiccups, we must come to terms with the fact that the ANC has changed into something else that we do not know. Therefore, the upcoming conference should assist us to effect drastic measures that can correct the shortcomings that are posing a serious threat to the people's organization.
Ngaphandle kwezinkinga zobuholi kumele ukuthi sizimisele noma sibhekane neqiniso lokuthi umbuso noma ukhongolose usuphenduke into esingayaziyo kule conference ezayo. Siphinde sisize ukuthi siqhamuke nezindlela ezintsha ezizoshintsha bese zilungisa lapho kukhona okungalungile. Lezi zinto zisilethela okukhulu ingcindezi empilweni yonke yombutho. Okuyiconcern kakhulu isidingo sokuba sibhekisise national ama resolutions kanjalo nezinqumo ze 54th National Conference.
There is a lot that happened at the last conference that needs to be corrected if we are to revive the ANC and return it to its original mission. The organization's mandate remains to fully liberate the people of this country, especially the poor and the working class, from poverty, landlessness, and continued economic exclusion.
Kuningi osekwenzekile okudinga ukuba kulungiswe uma kambe sifuna ukubuyisa ukhongolose siubuyisele endaweni nasenhlosweni owawunayo okungukuthi ukukhulula abantu kanjalo labo abahlwempu nalabo abasebenzayo nalabo abanobubha abangenawo umhlaba nokuqhubekayo ukukhishwa ngaphandle kwezomnotho.
Leadership is a critical factor for any conference. Resolutions and decisions that are adopted need strong and decisive leadership that will ensure effective implementation.
Ubuholi buyingxenye ebaluleke ngohlobo oluyisimangaliso kunoma yipi inkomfa kanjalo nezinqumo ezithathwayo khona lapho ukuba zenziwe zibe ezisebenzayo. Zidinga ukuthi zibe strong, zibe ezibalekile nobuholi bakhona ezizokwenza ukuqinisekisa ukuthi lawo ma resolutions ayenziwa njengokuthathwa kwawo.
We should therefore be very concerned about the leadership that will emerge from the conference and how that leadership is chosen. Something has changed with regards to the leadership contestations of the leadership positions. One of the glaring features of the 2017 conference was the number of comrades who wanted to be president of the ANC.
Ziningi izinto esezishintshile uma ngabe sibheka ebuholini nasekubangisaneni ngokuphatha ukhongolose noma ubuholi bukakhongolose. Ezinye zezinto ezigqame kakhulu ngo-2017 conference inamba yama comrade ababefuna ukuba ngomongameli bakakhongolose.
We had 7 of them for the first time in the history of the ANC. This was an indication that something had seriously gone wrong. I am not sure if we have managed to address that new and unusual character of the ANC.
Sasinabo bebangisana ngokuphatha ukhongolose bewu7 okokuqala emlandweni we-organization noma wenhlangano okuwukuthi ANC. Lokhu kwakuyisiboniso sokuthi kukhona into engahambanga noma engahambanga kahle ngaphakathi embusweni noma embuthweni kakhongolose. Anginaso ke nokho isiqiniseko ukuthi ngabe sikwazile yini ukuthi silungise isimo se-ANC.
Ake ngithi kushawa mageba kancane ngicacise la. Uyabona sakhiwo sethu okuthiwa i-National Executive Committee. Abantu abalaphaya kufanele uba bayezwana njengoba kade kusho ukuthi uThambo ukuthi ufanele abantu bazwana. Kufanele ukuthi benze into eyodwa. Kufanele bangakhahlelani njengabantu bedlala ibhola same team kodwa bekhahlana nabodwa. Bawisane phansi bodwa. Kufanele ukuthi uma kukhona abantu ababehleli bambona lo ufanele kuba upresident. Ungasukumi nombani nje ohleli nami ngifuna ukuba uyi nami ngifuna ukuba uyi behlele ekommitini elilodwa lento engizama ukuthi ngisho ukuthi usiko olusha lolu akulona olukathambo no nombani nje abelathi nami ngifuna ukuba mongameli nami ngifuna ukuba mongameli ngikhetheni nansi imali bambani la nambe nifuna influence abantu alukho lolu siko kaKhongolose. It may be useful to explain what had happened to our organization, to have so many members of the National Executive Committee, NEC, deciding to contest for only one position, that of the president, even if about 7. 2 of the contesting comrade had been nominated within the framework of the ANC. These were Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa. Then an additional 5 candidates emerged from nowhere, but they were contesting the position of the president. And I can count them if you want, because I called them to a dinner. I called them to a dinner to plead with them not to make the ANC fight itself.
Kusho ukuthi kubuya kumbuzo lo uthi kungani ama members e-National Executive Committee ehlela ukuthi bonke bafuna ukuba ukuthatha iposition eyodwa okungukuthi ukuba umongameli. La kumina kuthiwa kunenkolelo enkulu ukuthi izitha zenhlangano zihlele ukuba ziqhambukele nokuthi kuphathwa kanjani nokuthi bahlele ukuthi bawise to derive from ukuthi basuke kubantu abaningi beANC noma kuma members eANC amaningi bese behlela ukuthi bahlakaze ukuze kuthi kungabibikho okutholakalayo noma okuphumelelayo. Lokho inhlangano ehlele ukuthi ikuthole ekwakhiweni kwayo in its establishment. Kumele ukuthi kube yinto epracticewayo ukuba kube ababili noma abathathu abantu akumele ukuthi ba contest noma babangisane ngesikhundla sobumongameli. Kodwa bebe isikhombisa eNazareth. Ababili kubona ababe nominate ngaphakathi kwe framework yeANC. Laba kwakungunkosazana Dlamini Zuma kanjalo nomongameli uCyril Ramaphosa. Laba abanye abasihlanu abaqhamuka beqhamuka endaweni engaziwa nabo futhi babe contesta. Futhi asizange sihlale sidingide lento le engajwayelekile entsha kuANC. Uma sibheka ukuthi kwenzakalani eNazareth kusolibala ukuthi izitha zisebenze nabathize esingabaza ngama elaborate scheme ukuthi balethe abantu abaningi abayi members za National Executive Committee ukuthi nazo ziconteste ukuthi zibe ngomongameli. Ngaleso sikhathi eNazareth sasingakwazi ukuthi simelane nalento engajwayelekile ngekwezepolitiki.
There is a strong belief that the enemies of our organization have decided to intervene with the aim to reduce the strength of the ANC by causing divisions within the ANC. We have not yet sat down to discuss this new end. This new tendency in the ANC. Looking at what happened in Nazareth, it is clear that this number of presidential contestants was increased by our enemies in order to reduce the number of votes of the ANC or candidates of the ANC. The ultimate goal for our enemies is to undermine the ANC at the polls and continuously reduce its majority to force coalitions. An ANC that does not have an outright majority cannot continue its mission of delivering a better life for the people, the Africans, the African majority in particular.
Uma sibuka okwenzeke eNazareth mayelana nendlela kwenzeka ngayo kusolibala ukuthi abantu abayizitha bahlele ukuthi banciphise amandla kubavoti ngenxa yalabo bantu abasuke bezokuvotelwa. Inhloso yabo ngokwenza njalo ukuthi uANC aqhubeke nokuphelelwa amandla nokuthi awine noma aphumelele ngemajority. Lokho kuyomphoqa ukuthi angene kuma coalition noma ekubuseni ngokubambisana nezinye inhlangano. iANC uma ngabe ukuthi ayikwazi ukuthatha ngemajority noma ngombuso weningi noma weningi imajority, angeke izikwazi ukuqhubeka nenhloso yayo ukuthi ilethe impilo engcono kubantu abampofu okungukuthi abamnyama abaningi.
It is really of great concern that the ANC seems to be run by invisible people who are not necessarily members of the ANC. These people take these decisions and use members of the organization to implement them. They are running the ANC from wherever they are, and this
kuyakhathaza ukuthi kubukeke sengathi iANC iholwa ngabantu abangabonakali and abangezona futhi abangewona amalunga kaANC abathatha izinqumo bese lezo zinqumo ngempela ziyenziwa barana noma bahola ukhongolose noma ngabe ikuphi lapho bekhona lokho kumele ukuthi kume noma kuphele.
We are currently witnessing the repeat of Nazareth 2017. There are comrades who started almost 2 years ago to offer themselves as presidential candidates, and the majority of these comrades emanate from the NEC. Where does this new tendency come from? We have not examined the origins of this tendency. We have also witnessed comrades nominating themselves lately instead of waiting for the process of our organization, which historically has been the case, that the ANC will say the time for nomination has come. These comrades have nominated themselves before that time. Why?
Kunama comrade aqale eminyakeni emibili edlule ukuthi azibone njengabantu abakulungela ukuba ngomongameli baka ANC. Kanjalo lama comrade aphuma ku NEC okuyinhloso yakho ukudivide noma ukuhlakaza uANC. Lenqubo entsha iqhamuka kuphi?
This unusual behavior is certainly not an innocent move. It is a move that has been created by those whose mission is to deal with the ANC, to make people lose confidence in the organization, and to reduce its popularity and support by what they are doing at ANC. My worry is that we do not seem to have been looking into these issues as an organization.
Lolu hlobo olungajwayelekile lokuziphatha akukona ukuziphatha okulungile. Lolu hlobo lukhomba ukuthi inhloso yalo ukuthi lihlakaze ukhongolose nokuthi abantu balahlekelwe yithemba ngenhlangano bese liqeda amandla nokuduma kanjalo nokusupportwa abantu. I-concern noma ingxaki yami ukuthi asiboni lezi zinto zilungiswa ngaphakathi kweorganization.
There are many other things that we have not followed up on as an organization. For an example, the resolutions and decisions that were adopted at the last conference were not followed, were not implemented. If anything, there have been different views about our resolutions, particularly at the leadership level, and we ended up unable to implement those resolutions.
Ziningi izinto ezingalandelwanga ngaphakathi kweorganization ukwenza nje isibonelo ama resolutions kanjalo nezinqumo eza-adoptwa noma ezathathwa enkonfereni edlule. Uma nje sibheka enye yezinto beyimningi imbono ehlukene ngama-resolutions ikakhulu ezingeni lobuholi. Sigcine sesingasakwazi ukuthi lezi zinto sizi-implemente. Kubukeka sengathi indaba iphuma lapha kulama policy asanda kwenziwa ukureviewa. kumele ukuthi sithole ukuthi kungani engazange a-implementwe.
It also seems that the matter did not arise in the recent policy conference with a view to find out why we have not implemented the resolutions and some decisions. There is doubt whether there will be an explanation in the reports to be delivered in the 55th National Conference were not implemented by the leadership.
Kubukeka sengathi lokhu akuzange kuvuke kule policy conference ekade ikhona. Kunombono ukuthi kungani umbono ukuthi kungani ama resolutions engazange enziwe noma implementwe. Siyangabaza ukuthi ngabe incazelo yalokho kanjalo nereport iyolethwa yini ku 55th National Conference. Ukuthi kungani ama resolutions nezinqumo zingazange ze-implementwe.
We have also witnessed foreign tendencies in the manner in which the leadership contest was conducted, and that has also not been discussed. That is a major issue for the ANC and its revival and strength and needs to be prioritized for discussions in the coming conference. At Nazareth in 2017, it was for the first time that we had huge sums of money being used to buy delegates to vote in a particular way.
Sibone indlela yokuziphatha yabantu abaqhamuka ngaphandle, i-foreign tendency leyo. Ngendlela yokuthi ubuholi indlela obu-contestwa ngayo abuzange budis. Into ekuyiyona enkulu kwi-ANC ukuthi iphile namandla anjalo, namandla ayo ngokunjalo ukuthi i-prioritize noma ikhethe ama-discussions. Bese kuthiwa lama eNazareth kwakungokuqala lapho bese nezamba ezinkulu zemali ukuthi kuthengwe ama-delegate ukuthi avote ngendlela ethile.
There were clear allegations made that Cyril Ramaphosa, who was contesting the presidency, used a lot of money to buy his position as president of the ANC. This allegation was made. The figure was put at around R1 billion. In the Zondo Commission, Cyril Ramaphosa openly admitted that he did use money to buy the position, but said it was not over R1 billion, but it was just over 300 million rand.
Kuthiwa lapha kuthiwa bekunezi insolo ezisolibala ukuthi uCyril Ramaphosa owayecontestela kuba umongameli wasebenzisa isamba esikhulu semali ukuthi athenge isikhundla sokuba umongameli weANC. Lezi zinsolo bezithi isamba noma inani lemali yayilapha ya kwi-billion Kwezondo Commission uRamaphosa wayivumela yena ngokusolibala ukuthi wayisebenzisa imali ukuthenga lesi sikhundla, kodwa manje wayesethi yayingelona ibhiliyoni, kwaku 300 million nje kuphela.
Into ke ma comrade kimina njengoba ngithi khonto ezingigulisayo angaze ngikuzwe lokhu ukuthi umongameli angavuma obala ukuthi uthenge isikhundla sopresident. Isikhundla sopresident uyakhethwa amalungu kaKhongolose ngoba ekubona ukuthi ufanele ukuba upresident. Asithengwa. Ayikho kumthetho sisekelo weANC leyo nto. Uma kusho ukuthi awukwazi ukuba upresident ngoba ayikho lonto asithengwa. Nangu ke uRamaphosa evuma ukuthi usithengile, uphika kuphela ukuthi kwangona amabhiliyoni, kwakungama 100 million. Abaholi okuyibona ukubahamba phambili bathula, nathi esisema branchini sathula. Angiyibaleke yakho mfana omsha ngoba yengakabibikho. Yakhe yebeka eceleni. Ngisengiyibone kahle nje ukuthi le branch ngeke ithule makwenakala. Ibalekile leliphuze engilishoyo. Ngoba sadedela into wrong, usiko wrong ukuthi kuthengwe isikhundla sokuba umongameli. Ingasehlela ke namanje uma singanakile siphinde futhi kube khona abathengwayo. Ngithe angigcizelele le ndaba ngoba akuwona manga kuona amahememe. Wazivumela ngokwakhe ehleli phambi kwejaji lafungiswa. Waphika nje kuphela ukuthi kwangeyona amabhiliyoni, kwangama million. Again, as the ANC, we have not scrutinized this serious issue. And the reality that we have a president who was not elected properly through the democratic process, but had used money to buy people to support him or vote for him. Therefore, our democratic process, and definitely mhlambe sikhuluma lesingisi saziyo, abused the democratic process.
Futhi njenge-ANC asizange siyibhekisise le ndaba ebaluleke kangaka nokuthi sinomongameli ongazange akhethe ngendlela eqondile kanjalo nangendlela yentando yeningi, kodwa owasebenzisa imali ukuthenga ukulandelwa noma ukuvotelwa. Ngalokho ke wahlukumeza intando yeningi noma indlela yentando yeningi. Ngeshwa ke noma ngebhadi lolo lwazi lushicilelwe luphansi, which says it's on record. Luphansi lishicilelwe.
Record. Have we corrected such manipulative occurrences that happened in the last conference? As we go into another conference now, if we have not corrected these, comrades, it's going to Are we heading for a repeat of that un-ANC behavior? Or are we saying things have changed?
Ngepa yeah.
We seem to be dealing with an ANC that has changed, but these changes did not emanate from discussions and resolutions in our conferences, as should be the case in our procedures.
Kubukeka kombuzo kungabe sesikulungisile yini lento engajwayelekile eyenzeke kwinkomfa edlule njengoba manje siya kwenye inkomfa kungabe siya ukophinda lokhu okwenzekile okungeyona inqubo nendlela yokuziphatha kaANC kukhona yini osekushintshile okusaqinisweni kumele ukuthi sikhathazeke ngalezi zinsolo ezithinta ubuholi asikaze sizwe lutho kudiscusswa ukuthi kungabe ama branch kanjalo nobuholi bukhulumile izinto base beya complaina futhi lokhu kuthinta uma singabheka kokunye lezi zinto esingazisho ukuthi azikho semthethweni illegal activities.
As we approach the upcoming conference, there has again been very obvious usage of money. A number of comrades who have raised the matter after experiencing the usage of money, which has shocked many, do not seem to be having a platform within within their movement to raise these matters and correct them.
Njengoba sibheke kwinkomfa ezayo futhi kusolibala ukuthi kunokusetshenziswa kwemali la ama comrade amaningi asayiphakamisile le ndaba emva kokuba ebonile ukusetshenziswa kwemali isithuse abaningi ke nokho lendlela entsha yokuziphatha kanjalo futhi nalabo abayivezayo le ndaba abanikwe ithuba lokuthi bakhulume ngalezi zinto ukuze silungiswe.
The organization, its policies and politics have been consumed by a patronage network which is characterized by rubbed hands exchanging money. These corrupt hands are making comrades buy votes for positions instead of being elected fairly and correctly. This leads to leaders being elected for the wrong reasons. They are therefore at the core of corruption in the ANC.
Inhlangano kanjalo nemithetho yayo ngokwezepolitiki isingenwe izinto ezithize eziqhamuka ngaphandle esingathi masizibheka sizibheke njengezinto esingakhuluma ngazo sithi ipolitiki eshintshanisa izimali lezi zandla ezinobugebengu zenza ukuthi ama-comrade noma zenza ukuthi ama-comrade athenge amavoti kanjalo nezikhundla esikhundleni sokuba umuntu akhethwe ngendlela eqondile nokuyiyona yona lokhu kuholela ekuthenini kuthathwe noma kukhethwe abantu akungesibo ngenxa yezathu ezingesizo. Ngalokho ke okuseqhulwini kakhulukazi kwe-ANC inkohlakalo.
Comrades who are saying we need to rescue the ANC are not able to advance their plans and thinking about how this must be done. There is, in fact, no discussion about that at all.
Ama-comrade athi kumele ukuthi siwusindise u-ANC awakwazi ukuthi aziqhube lezo zinhlelo zawo uma sicabanga ngendlela okumele ukuthi kwenzeke ngayo. Lokhu okuseqinisweni akaze kubuyekezwe noma kudingidwe kwakhona nje.
It is also truly of concern that there have been serious allegations touching upon the leadership, and we have not had any discussion about within the movement, whether from the branches or leadership, to deal with some of the things that people have been complaining about. These include, among others, some alleged illegal activities that have been talked about. We have also not even asked what has made the ANC to decline in the manner that it has declined more than any other time in its history.
Kusolibala ukuthi lento iyakhathaza lezi zinsolo ezithinta ubuholi esingakaze sizwe ngazo zedingidwa ngaphakathi enhlanganweni kaKhongolose. Kungaba ama-branch okungamagatsha kanjalo ubuholi abakaze nje sidalwa bakhalaze ngalezi zinto. Lokhu kubala uma singabala nokunye ukusolakala ukuthi izinto ezingalungile ezenzeka ngaphakathi kuKhongolose. Sibe asizikaze sizwe bezibuza lokhu kumele ukuthi okungaze emlandweni wayo.
The outcome of the last ANC conference caused the ANC to lose support in the last national general elections, and we dropped from 62% to 57%.
Impumela yokhetho noma yebo impumela yokhetho yangoNovember 2021 yabona iANC yehlelwa amandla. Ngitolika khona kodwa manje sengisuke ngaqhubeka kakhulu. Impumela yokhetho olwedlule yabonisa iANC ilahlekelwa amandla okhethweni lukazwelonke langonyaka wedlule isuka ku 62% yaze yayofika ku 57%.
There were even more severe losses in the local government elections in November 2021, which saw the ANC dip below 50% for the first time ever, winning only 46% of the vote and losing control of the key municipality, of the key important municipalities.
Kube sekwenzeka ke ingxaki lapho iANC yaphinde yalahlekelwa amandla ngendlela emangalisayo kohulumeni basekhaya ngoNovember ku2021 lapho esabona khona iANC yehla ize ikhala ngaphansi ngisho kwa 50% okokuqala ngqa emlandweni lapho esabona khona iANC iwina ngo46% wamavoti lokho yalahlekelwa ngamandla kakhulu komasipala. Madod.
I'm not aware of any serious debate that has taken place about what went wrong and what needs to be fixed so that the ANC can regain the support and respect that it has lost since Nazareth conference.
Angaze ngizwe lapho kukhona khona inkulumo mpikiswano kudingidwa ukuba ikuphi okungenzekanga ngendlela ikuphi okudinga ukulungiswa kwiANC ukuze ikwazi ukuthola amandla iphinde futhi ithole ukuhlonishwa nokulandelwa ngendlela ebeyilandelwa ngakho seloku sabuya eNazareth.
We should, in fact, also be worried that the ANC no longer prioritizes political discussions and engagements. In many of the recent conferences, we have heard, whether from branches, sub-regions, regions, or provinces, there has been a serious absence of political discussions about where the ANC is going, the policies and resolutions.
Kumele ukuthi sikhathazeke ngo-ANC ngoba awusafuni manje ukuthi ukhethe ukuthi wenze inkulumo mpikiswano noma ukudingidwa kwezinto nangendlela yokuthi kuyiwa kanjani ekuthenini ku-engagwane. Uma sibheka kule nkonfa le esisanda kuba nayo asikaze sizwe ama-branch kanjalo ama-sub-regions ama-province kubavele bazithulela nje uma ngabe kuthiwa makukhulunywa ngendaba zokudingidwa kwezinto ezenzakalayo ngaphakathi kwe-ANC okuthinta kuzona ama-policies kanjalo nama-resolutions.
What seemed to dominate the conferences has been quarrels about credentials until the time to vote for new leaders without providing enough time for political discussions to take the ANC forward in implementing its radical policies. Less attention has been given.
Esekubone kuhamba phambili kuma conference zingxabano zokuthi ama credentials bawathatha kanjani ukuthi ukuze kukhethwe ubuholi obusha. Lokhu ke bekwenza ukuthi sibe ngezinto ezizokwenza ukuthi uANC uye phambili nasekwenziweni kwama policies kaANC. Isikhathi esincane esinikeza sona noma zinikezwe isikhathi esincane lezi zinto ezibalekile ngaphakathi.
As I said recently, we seem to be turning the ANC into an article of commerce. This cannot be accepted.
Njengoba ngisanda kusho ukuthi sesiyawuphendula ukhongolose sesiwenza indawo lapho kusavunwa noma kumbiwa khona imali lento le ayamukelile neze.
We need to have a clear plan about how we are going to revive the ANC into an organization that can be supported and respected by the majority of our country.
Sidinga ukuba sibe nohlelo olusolibala ukuthi siyokwenza kanjani ukuze sivuselele ukhongolose njengenhlangano esiyaziyo ezokwazi ukuthi ilandelwe iphinde ihlenishwe yiningi labantu ezweni lakithi.
It is not going to help us to go to conference to get positions in the main rather than to put the ANC in a better position for the people of our country.
Ngeke kuze kusizeke nokho ukuthi sigijime siye lapha kweconference siyofuna izikhundla okuthi okuyikona okuseqhulwini ukuthi sibeke inhlangano kakhongolose endaweni ekahle ukuze ikwazi ukusiza abantu baleli lizwe.
Besides serious political engagements, we should also be discussing administration issues such as the membership system and the serious funding problems that the organization is facing.
Ngaphandle ke kwezinto ezibalekile ekumele ukuthi zidiscuss noma zidingidwe ngokwezepolitiki kumele ukuthi siphinde futhi sidingide le ndaba yobuholi noma lezi zinto zobuholi kanjalo esingabala kuzona indlela ubulunga buka ANC okwenzeka ngayo esingathi membership system kanjalo nezinto ezibalekile ezithinta ukuthi abantu banikela kanjani kukhongolose.
Many comrades who are members of the ANC are found to be absent in the electric membership system that we are currently using. That issue has not been addressed. The point I'm making is that kulezi insuku zanamhlanje ufika kufuneke wenze into laphaya kuthiwe hayi comrade awuveli la awukho but une-card. It's because of this membership system which I think the conference must change and must go basics. Uzwa abantu njengoba kade kusho comrade lapha bayintshontshile conference intshontshwa nge-technology because the membership the delegates to the conference cannot fail to discuss and resolve this serious matter. It is a faulty membership system which has made comrades say only in the recent past years that conferences are being stolen. The system has been made to help those who want to steal the leadership to steal it. And comrades will say, "Inchonchi will a conference." We must fix it.
Ama comrade amaningi angamamember ka-ANC awatholakali ke nokho kule system entsha yezobuchwepheshe besayensi. Lento le ithi lento le kumele ukuthi ibhekisiswe. Ama delegate aya kwe conference angeke aze akwazi ukungaphumeleli ukuthi azidingide lezi zinto. Le membership le esinayo ayisebenzi noma ifault angisho kanjalo. Yenze ukuthi ama comrade amaningi ayidingide le ndaba le ukuthi inkomfa zikakhongolose ziyantshontshwa. Lokhu ke sekwenzekile phambilini ukuthi amalunga noma i-membership system le ekhona njengamanje bayakwazi ukuthi bayinyomfa nje ukuze bakwazi ukuyintshontsha.
This has not happened before, as there was a genuine membership system which could not be manipulated. Today, even if you are a member of the ANC, you can be declared a non-member. What do we have in place in place to the current system? We certainly need to change it.
Lokhu ke akukaze kwenzeke kwilendlela endala ebesisebenzisa ye system eyenza ukuthi abantu bakwazi ukuyintshontshela nje. Namhlanje uma uyilunga likakhongolose usuyakwazi ukuthi kushiwo nje ngenxa yale membership system ukuthi awulona ilunga likakhongolose. Nanku kumbuzo uthi yini esingakwazi ukuyenza ukuze silungise lesi simo?
We also need to rescue the ANC from relying on donations. This organization, with such a glorious history, should be financially sustainable. There are solutions to these issues, but we do not seem ready to discuss these matters.
Kumele ukuthi sibe nendlela ukuthi ngabe siutakula kanjani ukhongolose ekuthenini uthembele emnikelweni. Lenhlangano lena enomlando omuhle ngalolu hlobo kumele ukuthi ikwazi ukuzimela ngakwezezimali. Ngalokho ke kumele ukuthi iqhamuke namasu ukuthi asihlangabezane noma sihlangabezana kanjani nalesi simo kumele ukuthi sidingidwe lezi zinto.
The ANC is also going to conference limping, as many structures have been disbanded since Nazareth. This is again a new worrying phenomenon in the ANC.
Lokhu i-ANC iyalapha yakwi-National Conference ixhugela njengoba istructure eziningi zakakhongolose zihlakaziwe eNazareth. Lokhu futhi okunye okukhathazayo ngaphakathi kuyona inhlangano kakhongolose.
Zihlakazwe ngemva kweNazareth.
Oh, okay.
Yebo baba.
Yeah.
Since Nazareth.
Ukusuka lapha ya kwiNazareth. Since.
This seems like a deliberate tactic to weaken the organization through enabling the leadership to appoint their own people who do not power from the membership.
Lokhu ke kubukeka kuyisenzo samabomu sokuthi kuncishiswe amandla enhlangano ukuthi ikwazi ukukhetha labo baholi noma ukuthi ikhethe abaholi ukuze kukwazi ukuthi bakhethe abantu babo abangaqhamuki namandla nepower abangaqhamuki namandla membership ka-ANC.
Ake ngithi kuyicacisa kancane lento. Into ebiyenze kusukela eNazareth. Uma abaholi bengezwani ne-leadership ethile noma kwi-sub-region noma kwi-region noma ebranchini bavele bathatha isinqumo nje ukuthi siyayidisbanda. Ebese-ke bekhetha abantu abazobakhetha bona ukuthi bazorana leso structure. Inkinga yalokho ukuthi ma-comrade amandla njengoba lama comrade ehlezi lapha nje amabili amandla akuthi usihlalo unobhala asuka kinina into abayenzayo bayithunywe yini laso sonke isikhathi uma into ebiyenzeka kusukela Nazareth nibabona ukuthi ba strong bayakwazi ukumela into bayakwazi ukurun ibranch kahle abaphezulu babonda abakwazi ukuthi benze izinto zabo bese bethi bayabakhipha abalungile ba disband structure bese bekhetha abantu babo abangesesabi labantu abakhethwa ukuthiwa interim structure abasayisabi branch ngoba ibakhethanga kakade bayihlalele nje ingakho ububona sibe nobu week ku ANC isikhathi eside ngoba manje abakusebona abantu abezwa ababuka nje ngoba balethiwe nje abakhethwanga kukhona ama structures ANC angazange ahlale sokuphela iminyaka ever since isuka lapho kuphethe labo kuthiwa ba interim phathi iminyaka ngeminyaka lelo phuzu lelo esilenzala ukuthi akufanele silivumele. The task teams leading many structures are accountable to the leadership that appoints them instead of the membership that was elected or that elected them. We have also had conferences that did not proceed correctly, but nothing was done about it. For an example, the so-called Festival of Chairs conference in the Eastern Cape.
Kufundeka kanjena ke. Kuthiwa lama task team lawa kanjalo nalezi structure azibuyi zizo reporter kuma branches noma kulabo bantu ezibakhethile kodwa zibhekana nje ngqo nobuholi ezireport kubona ngoba phela ibona abaholi laba basuke beba okuyibona ekufanele ngabe ku reportwa kuona nakho kokunye la kuthiwa kube khona nenkomfa engazange iqhubeka ngendlela efanele akukho futhi okwenziwe emva kwalokho uma ngenza nje isibonele lokhu okubiza ngokuthi ifestival noma ingqungquthela yosihlalo le ezweni noma ekwiprovince yase Eastern Cape isibonele leso
ingqungquthela yezihlalo not osihlalo the Festival of Chairs kusho kwakushayana ngezihlalo lapho umongameli waseqamba ukuthi Festival of Chairs. I can appreciate the point yakho baba ukuthi ungathi uthiwa osihlalo ibalekile lezi zinto because the leadership established a commission of inquiry called Sbu-Ndebele Commission. That commission produced a report which made it clear that the conference held in the Eastern Cape was not an ANC conference and that a proper conference need to be convened. The outcome of that conference should have been nullified, but our leadership allowed an illegal provincial executive committee was allowed to serve a full term of office and even participated at the Nazareth conference, even though it was illegal.